All right.
Right.
You want to kick us off, Johnny, and I'll keep admitting and then I'll go.
Sure. Welcome, everyone. It's so great to see you all. My name is Johnny Roman. I'm the executive director of the CFJ Coaching Success School, also a professional life and business coach, and two-time grad of the school. Super excited you're all here. And really, it's a wonderful opportunity, for all of you to connect and learn not only from the guest faculty that are here with us, but also from each other. You're in a wonderful community of colleagues, of coaches that are all here wanting to up level and learn how to continuously grow your coaching business and being of service in the world. So we're thrilled to have you. And I think it's going to be a great call. And I'll pass it over to Carolyn.
Hey, everybody. Um, I am so excited to get to be here with you. This is our sixth time that we are doing this open to the public webinar, which is super exciting. We have, I think there's over 300 coaches that are still coming on right now. So we want to acknowledge you all for making the time for this. And for those of you who don't know me, I have been coaching for over probably 18 years now. And I am a leadership coach and a life coach, and I lead the CFJ Coaching Success School, which is one of my favorite things I get to do. Serving coaches is, most of you know, a significant part of the work I do, and I love it. And this is one of my favorite things to do every year. It's the only time that all of the faculty come together. So the only time. Everything else, they're showing up at the school individually on their day. And this is the time they get to not just be with all of you, but they get to hear from each other, which is super fun for us. And what we're going to do today, I'm going to take a couple minutes to introduce them and talk a little bit about them because I think it's really important because they're fantastic and making big differences in their worlds. And then I'm going to share a little bit. They're each going to respond to a question that I pose to them that has to do with why we're all here. And then we're going to open it up because this is also about really primarily about you and your business and what you want to create in your 2024, right? That's why you're here. So we're really committed that by the time we're done, you're going to walk away with things you can go do and things you can make happen now, not in January, not in February, now. Like you can start your 2024 right now. So we're going to go for 90 minutes, and then Johnny Roman and I will stay together with anyone who has other questions, things they want to get answered, and we'll stay on for another 20 to 30 minutes. So you have us for a really good long time. So I am going to start by introducing the faculty. And of course, the first person I'm going to introduce is my coach and my friend, and just someone that, for me, takes such a stand in the world for this profession. From my point of view, he's a pioneer in the world of professional coaching. He's really the person who takes a stand for service in the most humble and real way that a person can. And that is Steve Chandler. Steve Chandler has been on the faculty for the entire time the school has been in existence. And he is known for bringing fun, creativity, and just really down to earth. Like, everyone can do this. This is not magic. This is not something you have to figure out. So Steve, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Carolyn.
The next person I'm going to introduce is Amber Chris. Amber Chris was literally by my side when we launched the school. She was with me for the first 4 years. Amber Chris has been coaching for how long? How long is it?
Almost 15 years.
Almost 15 years. She has an incredible, to me, body of work. She has served women in how they relate to themselves and their bodies. She has served coaches for a really long time now and has a very significant track record in helping coaches learn how to both make more money and be stronger in their own work. And she's also super fun to be around. So I am thrilled you're here, and I know that everybody is excited. Amber just got back from leading her first international retreat in Costa Rica. So thanks for making it back for us.
Absolutely. I wouldn't miss this. This is so amazing. This is my favorite thing.
All right. Then I am going to introduce Tarita Preston. Tarita Preston she's a grad of the school. She went through the school for 3 years. She is a force to be reckoned with, is really the best way I can describe Tarita. Like, Tarita is just one of these people who she can create wherever she is, and she will. And that is really what she brings to the table in her own business. That is what the stand she takes for coaches in the school. I mean, she is just, wherever she is, she creates. And I could put Tarita in any situation and she would come out having either a connection or a call on her calendar. So Tarita, really great to have you here.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Sandy Sullivan. Sandy Sullivan. Sandy Sullivan is the co-owner of the Alchemy Group, and she is known from my point of view, she is like the GOAT of corporate coaching. She is someone who has been working in the world of corporate. How long now, Sandy?
28 years.
28 years. She really understands what goes on inside of executives' lives, and not just their lives as leaders, but their lives, their personal lives. Alchemy is dedicated to helping create better leaders and stronger organizations. And Sandy and I have known each other quite a while now, and we got connected through Michelle Bauman, who was my business partner and my best friend. And most of you know, she passed away in 2015. And Sandy, last year was her first year on faculty, and the entire room was speechless. So it's just so great to have you back for your second year.
Honored, 100%. Thank you.
And now I get to introduce our newest faculty member, who I am super excited to introduce. That is Amber Shirley. Amber Shirley is coming to us live from one of my favorite places, New York City. She is an extraordinary coach. She has created amazing communities wherever she goes. She works with creative executives. She works with leaders. She also does work with coaches. And I wrote about this when I introduced Amber and her faculty role. Amber has an extraordinary service heart. It's like I've watched Amber literally walk through a city and connect with people in ways that I was so struck by. And Amber, I'm so excited to have you here. I'm so excited for the difference you're going to make with these coaches here and the ones in the school.
Thank you, Carolyn. It's an absolute pleasure.
And, I have to say this because I think she's here. So Amber also is in the unique story of her mom is also a coach. Her mom is here right now. Her mom is in her second year of the school. So Amber Shirley is super excited to get to call on her mom in class and be like, all right, ask me a question. So, who doesn't like that? Who doesn't want to get to call on their mom, right, Amber?
Yes. I'm looking forward to that, moms.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to ask everybody a question. This is the faculty. They're each going to answer. I'm going to ask that those of you that are here, can you put yourself on mute, right? And then we're going to open it up. We're going to take questions. We're going to go to all sorts of places in creating your 2024. In terms of the chat, here's my request. So if you have a burning question based on something someone's asking, feel free to put it in the chat. We just don't want a lot of sidebars happening in the chat because we want you all here to be able to get what you came for. So that's my request. And of course, when someone's done getting coached or getting a question answered, if you want to acknowledge them, throw acknowledgement in the chat. We love that. So let's get going. Johnny, we're already in record, right? Okay. So I have one more person to introduce, and that is Johnny Roman, right? So Johnny Roman is not coming to us live from a dungeon in a basement. Johnny Roman is the amazing director, also guest speaker in the school. Johnny is, I like to make the distinction, right? There are rock stars and there are superstars, right? and both are amazing. And Johnny is a rock star. He is one of the most generous, solid, caring people that I know, but he's also an exceptional leader. I can count on him for anything. And the people who get to coach with Johnny are just, they feel so transformed by being with him, by his ability to see them, by his leadership and his skills. So when he speaks at the school every year, people get more moved and touched by him and by his story. So Johnny, as always, I'm so glad you're here and we get to do this together.
Me too. Honored to be here.
Yeah. All right. So everybody, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to pose a question because I want you to get to hear from the faculty, right? You're not just here to hear me. So faculty, I'm going to ask you a question and I'm going to call on one of you and then you're going to hand it off to the next faculty member, whoever you want to hand it off to. Okay. So we're going to start with, it's 2024 or soon to be. We're all in the context of what is happening in the world, right? Everybody has the same context. We see what's unfolding before us politically. We see what's unfolding before us, for many of us, in our own backyards. And we're still here as professional coaches. And I'm going to ask you, it's like, what do you want coaches in your world to be doing and thinking right now about the coming year? And maybe even what you yourself are thinking as you go into your year. So why don't we start it out with you, Steve, and then you hand it off to somebody else.
Okay. Well, what I want to guard against for myself and the coaches I work with, is too much concern with what's going on. I want people to be, and myself, to be aware, alert, and making whatever sociological or international differences I can make. But I want to know the difference between what I can do, the difference I can make, and the difference that I get obsessed with, the difference I would like to make but can't. So the key thing is be awake, be alert to the whole situation in the world, and stay on track for what I'm up to. Because the difference we can make, even with one individual, has a ripple effect in people being more compassionate, more understanding of other people, more responsible, have more integrity, and learn how they can make a difference and not just complain about everything. So the key thing is for coaches is the difference they make in other people's lives, not lose sight of that, and not allow myself to be distracted, and stay with what I'm up to in the world, stay with my work, my job. And for coaches, the biggest difference I see coaches making, it's with their clients and with the people they work with. And if they can stay with that, build their practice, become prosperous, that's a real practical goal. It's not greed-based. It is a goal that allows you to make an even bigger difference, be relaxed about money, and focus all your creativity on helping other people. And I will call on someone per Carolyn's request. I'd like to hear from Sandy.
Great. Thank you, Steve. So I'm going to relate this to a coaching call that I had just this morning. And I was speaking to a CEO, and he just about opened up the conversation, and he said, I am so frustrated with my team, and I am not happy with who they are becoming as a team. And a lot of people say that about the world. I'm so frustrated with the world. I'm not happy with who, and what's going on in the world. And what I said to the CEO this morning is I said, I really hear you. And I would just encourage you to rephrase that and say, I'm really frustrated with myself. And I'm not happy with who I'm becoming. Because right now, your team is not on this call, you are. And so as I look out at the world, I have to remind myself, the world is a reflection of me. And to the degree that I experience myself or my clients or my family as a victim, I've created that. So I keep it personal. I keep it very personal, and whatever people are saying about the world, I I I choose to believe they're actually saying it about themselves.
Who do you want to call him?
Oh, for 100% Tarita.
I'm thinking about how do I increase my own personal capacity to hold, to be a vessel for peace, for enlightenment, so that I can help support my clients better. Because I think that if I can anchor in myself, if I can slow myself down, to Steve's point, if I could let go and let God and focus on what I can control versus what I can't control, that's going to ripple effect to everybody I touch. So especially in our jobs, it's about capacity, it's about service, it's about compassion. So if I can have that for myself, I won't be burnt out by clients. I'm not going to misconstrue what connection is. It's going to be easier for me to be in flow. So that's what I would offer. And I'm going to pick Amber.
Which one?
Oh,
Yeah.
right. Amber Chris.
Thanks. Thank you, Tarita. I think one of the opportunities that the world's being given at this time is holding two opposing ideas at the same time. And so to me, in 2024, this idea of like, I can hold my heartache, I can be with my heartache, I can see the suffering in the world, and I can hold that for myself while also staying in action, while also sharing my gifts, right? It's like the balancing of the light and the dark. We're designed to have, like, there are 88 keys on the piano, and all 88 keys of that piano matter. Music would sound very different if we only had the high tones, right? So it's like, how do we welcome what we're seeing in the world, what that's bringing up inside of ourselves, and continue to share our gifts. It's like each of you are uniquely designed, and each of you have a unique gift to share. And my encouragement is not to allow the overwhelm of what's occurring in the world to prevent you from actually honoring why you're here, or partly why you're here.
Beautiful. Am I to guess you're calling on the other Amber?
Yes. Bring us home, Amber Shirley. Well, and then Johnny and Carolyn will go too.
Thank you, Amber. I was going to touch on what Tarita had said, but then she said it so perfectly and beautifully about capacity. What also struck me, and what I was thinking about would be helpful for coaches, is to really be intentional with, and it makes me think of Carolyn had coached me once, and she said, you've got to be vigilant. So instead of intentional, I'll even say, be vigilant in terms of what you are consuming, because when you are over consuming and you don't intentionally create more of an outlet for creation and innovation and imagination, you'll become blocked up, right? Like you get constipated when you're just consuming and not creating. And the beautiful thing about being intentional about creating is now your focus is on possibility. And so instead of getting so wrapped up in what the news might tell you is the reality, you have the intention to be creative, to create your own world and allow that to ripple out.
Beautiful. Thank you, Amber. Johnny, what do you
Yeah,
think?
thanks. I'm really thinking about, the stretching principle. Like, how can I stretch myself and my own growth and my own capacity, to piggyback off of what Tarita was saying, for service and compassion and being a source of light in the world and adding to the sum total of positivity in the world? How can I be my own and create my own contribution to that sum total of positivity? So whether that's with my clients, whether that's with my family or myself, and creating that space inside where I have access to more inner resources, so I can be of more service in a bigger way, whatever way that looks like, even if it's 1%, 5% more. so that I'm contributing in that way and not sort of taking energy or contributing to the sum total of negativity. So my focus really is on my stretching and leaning into the stretching for that to grow even more inside.
Awesome. All right, I'll finish it up. So for me, I always remind myself, right, that like, look, we are a profession. This is a profession. And if it's no different than being a doctor or a teacher or an engineer or like an electrician, right? They're going to show up for work, right? They're going to show up for work. They might have lots of feelings. They might have family members that are impacted by what's going on in the world, but they're showing up for work because it's a requirement, right? And that is the same for me. It's like that, like I can tend to myself and show up for work. And what I most want to do is I want to show up for my 1 acre. So if we all have 1 acre that we get to make a difference in, right? I want to show up for that acre. I don't want to miss out. Like, I don't want to miss out on my ability to make a difference in my 1 acre, because I know it's like what I think Sandy mentioned earlier. We do this pre-call where we do a short question. You'll see it later. But like Sandy talked to Steve about like his ripple effect, right? So it's like we want to be aware that like when we're off the court, if I'm in disturbance about something personally or in the world, I'm not working my 1 acre. I'm not. Now, that doesn't mean I don't take care of myself, but working my 1 acre is my responsibility. So to the degree that I am out there serving people and my business is reflecting that, then I'm doing exactly what this profession is designed to do. We're in the business of transformation. That's our job. And it's our job, like I really put this at the end, no matter what. No matter what. There is never a good enough reason for me to get off the court. And that doesn't mean I don't take care of myself, and it doesn't mean I don't have feelings, but there's never a good enough reason, right? I have my self-care, but that's the standard I hold for myself, because this is my profession and I honor it and I own it, and I'm going to show up to the best of my ability whenever I go to work. All right. So you've heard enough from all of us. We are here to help you create your 2024, right? This is it. This is where it all starts, right? So we want to open it up, right? You have a couple options. You can ask a general question, and then I'll pick a couple of the faculty to respond, or you can ask a specific question of a specific faculty member, right? You may have a specific question that you're like, I always wanted to ask so-and-so this, and we want to give you that opportunity. So you can raise your digital hand, and then we will take them, and then we may talk for a little bit about something you share, and we may just answer your question and go to the next person. So let's do this. Why don't we start with you, Martha Jeffers? Let's start with you. Welcome.
Okay, I put myself on the hot seat.
Yeah.
So how do I move forward in trusting myself that as I step into the school, I really am honoring the work that I want to step into? There's a fear that I have that I may sabotage myself.
Yeah, I really hear you, Martha. Sandy Sullivan, come on down. I think you might have something you could offer, Martha.
So Martha, I am you, I hear you. And that's the truth. As long as I've been coaching, let's see, I sabotage myself on a daily basis. It's true. And that's why I have a coach. Carolyn is my coach. And I was on a call with her earlier saying, I'm suspicious of myself. I don't think I see this clearly. And the one thing I think that serves me, and I feel emotional even just talking about it, because trust me, Martha, I've crashed and burned more than once. And I go back to, there was an interview done with Greg Louganis years ago, the 5-time gold medalist diver. And they said to them, how do you do that? How do you accomplish that? And his answer was simple and profound. He said, I know how to get to the right place from the wrong place.
Ooh.
See, yeah. Oof, what did you just get? What was that? Oof. What did you just get, Martha?
How do you get to the right place from the wrong place? I think what I got from there was the question that I asked is trusting that even getting from the wrong place, I'll wind up in the right place.
Yeah. And when I'm scared and I'm sweaty and I'm
I'm
scarred,
sweating right now, like
I know you're so beautiful sweating. I feel like I'm in the wrong place. I either call my business partner, or I call Carolyn, or I've laid down in the fetal position and my husband has rubbed my back. It's no more glamorous than that. Is that helpful?
yeah, very helpful. Thank you so much. Thank you. I
Great
appreciate that.
Martha.
Thank you.
All right, Lynn Downey, come on down.
Hi.
Hey,
Hi. I'm so grateful to be here, and I'm so grateful for all you coaches. I came on last year as the last person that was called on when I had a 2-month-old baby. And she is now 13 months old, and I have come through this year, maintained my beautiful roster of clients, and gratefully almost at the same level of what I've brought in as well. Sandy specifically, it was really, I'm glad I got to hear what was just last shared, because my question, I don't even feel like I have an exact question. I just knew I should raise my hand right away because you guys bring so much goodness. But I think one of the things I'm navigating and struggling with and doing well sometimes and not doing well sometimes is distraction. Some of it is real because I have a certain amount of time and then I need to go and be with my baby and coming back, kind of switching tasks. And then some of it is I feel I have a less capacity to process or think. And so then I get distracted in my own self. So there's times when I've carved out time to work that I'm feeling confused or distracted. And then there's times when I'm actually being pulled away. And so I'd love to hear anything that parents have around that, or really any coaching that's available.
well, Lynn, I love your question, and I'm going to ask Steve Chandler to come join us because he had 4 distractions. 4.
Right.
I think that's worthy of like he talks a lot about distraction, right? In general, right, Steve? I mean, there's so much we can get distracted by. So Steve, take it away.
Yeah, I had full custody of 4 children that I raised on my own. And they would take turns distracting me. They would go meet in a different room in the house and see who was next.
Mm.
And that child would come out and present some upset. Let's see if we can break him down. That was kind of their mission. Let's see what his breaking point is. And so I had to create systems. That's what worked for me. I had a great nanny who would come for certain times. I had a system where the kids knew, and your child is still young for this, but they knew that when I was working and my door was closed, and I had a little "Do Not Disturb" sign from a hotel, and I put it. I knew Dad's doing work, and if they tried to interrupt that, I would let them know, you're not going to eat if that's okay with you, if I can't do this work. So I would set up, I would solve it not with trying to work with my emotions so much, but I would solve it with what kind of system can I put in that would serve my work and serve my family. And I would always look at that and I would ask people, like Sandy said, I was fortunate to have a coach, and I would talk to him and we would brainstorm it. So I didn't feel trapped. I felt I was collaborating on a solution. So and then when I look back, the thing I remember most about those years when my kids were small, bouncing off the walls, acting out, I remember the most beautiful memories are with them. And I try to remember what my work was all about that I thought was so important.
Mhm.
And it was important. I got it done. I showed up for work. But the key thing with the distraction is have it be something that you have made a commitment to not let bother you, to not have it be something you're just automatically sucked into.
Mm.
So I had a policy against distraction. I would have uh, a morning ritual where I didn't look at the news first. I looked at positive things. I would work out little systems, and my systems kept me from really being pulled away by the drama of life and allowed me to do my work. And it's doable. It can be done. It can be done really well. And look for fun systems that you like, that keep you focused on what you're really up to in the world, on your work. And then when it's time to be with your family or child, allow yourself to be in the now for that. Because I had to learn over time that it was better when I didn't be with the kids while on the phone or try to do too many things at once. Learning to live in the now, one step at a time, stay focused on what I'm doing now and not try to do it all at once. And I'm not going to let distraction distract me. I'm going to have it be what I'm up to is every day a little better at focusing. Wherever I'm looking, I want to focus. I want to learn to focus. I want to learn to be present. Everything for a coach or anybody, every good thing you create is always going to happen in the present moment. It's not going to happen in the future. It's going to happen. Your opportunities are always in the now. And we have to practice being in the now because our culture trains us to keep looking at the future. You need to be worried. You need to be concerned, or keep regretting the past. You need to feel bad about what you've done. And when I'm in the now, none of that happens. I'm connected to another person, a client, and all of that goes away. The past, the future, it's gone. And keep connecting, stay in the now, and you'll be fine.
Thank you. Thanks for all you're all doing.
Awesome, Lynn. Reno, I don't know if I'm saying your name right. Will you let me know?
You nailed it,
I
Carolyn.
did?
You nailed it.
Come on
Gold
down.
star for you. So my question is, well, first of all, I wanted to say thank you all for the acknowledgement and the dialogue around what's happening in the world right now. It feels really important, and I really appreciate that it's being acknowledged here. And my question is, what are your thoughts on artificial intelligence as it pertains to our industry? And let me just say that it's not a concern for me because there's a recognition that the work that we do is very human and very unique. But I'm just curious about how you're all relating to that.
Great. So stay with us, Reno. I'll answer first because I
Yeah.
love that question because I think about that a lot, right? And I think it's really important to I do think AI will, I don't think it's a secret. It's going to come into the world of coaching, right? Like there's already companies that are like they're creating AI in-house coaching for people, right? And we're all probably hearing about that. And my point of view is all good because there's going to be a certain amount of coaches that are going to only coach to the AI level. Let's call it that, right? So for certain coaches, they might lose out because they're not necessarily coaching at deeper levels. They're not necessarily coaching beyond what we would call the goal line, right? But like, how do I get more of this, whatever it is. It's like true depthful coaching can never be replaced, can never be. AI won't be able to do that, right? Because AI, as you just said, it's like, it's not human. So it'll be able to meet people at a certain point. And for coaches who are more in the, like, they're in a certain lane where they're not coaching with a lot of depth, they might be impacted by that. But for coaches who are really creating meaningful transformation with people, like really big time, it just won't even touch it, right? It just won't even touch it because AI can't get nuance in the way that you can. I'm curious, like, what kind of coaching do you do?
That's a good question. It's something that I'm not completely clear about, but I would say that my focus is on life and business coaching predominantly. So, I work with professionals, creatives, other coaches, and for the majority, so I've been coaching for the last 10 years, but you use this word in one of your conversations with Johnny, professional coach, and I'll be transparent in saying that I haven't been a professional coach throughout that period of time. I've certainly made money, I've worked with clients, but I would say that I've definitely held back in some capacity. And so that's why I'm here and consuming the content and the information that you guys are putting out.
All right, well, let's hear from one other faculty member. Amber Shirley, why don't you share? Do you want to share, because Reno, you mentioned creatives, right? That you work with creatives, and
Yeah.
Amber creatives. So Amber, talk to us.
Yeah. Hi, Reno. Good to
Hey,
meet
Amber. Good to see you.
AI is going nowhere. It's going to just continue to get bigger and bigger. And I completely agree with you, Carolyn. And the cool thing, what I think, if I imagine what's going to happen, is the more humanity and the desire that we have as humans to connect with our fellow humans will never go out of style. In fact, we're going to crave it more and more the more we have spaces like AI. So I would just encourage you, Reno, to be like mindful of that and how much more valuable you become as a human coach who can connect with your clients one-to-one, heart-to-heart.
Yeah, thank you. This is all a nod. These are things that I was thinking about, and my passion, I coach generally and predominantly I coach from behind a computer, but I absolutely love being like in space with people and inviting people offline and into the world and getting into it with them. So this is definitely like a nod to that. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks for asking the question, Reno. And I just want to be a voice of encouragement. People need more coaches to have like real human interaction, right? Amber loves that. She creates these experiences where everyone's together, and I want to really support you and go do that.
Thank you. And one more thing, I just want to say thank you to Johnny Roman. I saw the presentation he did, and that's what brought me here. And I'm just like, I was so inspired by that conversation. I think every single person should watch that conversation. It's like one of the best videos on YouTube I have ever seen. So thank you.
So Reno, thank you so much for saying that, John. So for anyone here who has not seen the 55-minute talk Johnny gave at the school last year, we've sent it out. Steve Chandler has sent it out. Johnny's story is, right, it's so profound, right? And it's such an example of we can all do this, right? Like if John, like I joke with Johnny, and I don't mean it as a joke, I really mean it as a voice of admiration. Johnny creating what he's created from where he was is just so inspiring, right? So Johnny, you got to come down for a minute and just like, so John, we have to acknowledge Johnny, right? He, for the short story, Johnny was driving Ubers and he was really unhappy. I joke with Johnny all the time that in the school, Johnny was one of the very few people I could really rarely get to make laugh about what this business, how great this business could be. He just wouldn't. He was like, that's not funny. he would be like, I don't think you're funny. He said that to me. And I thought I was pretty funny. He's like, no, you're not funny. And no, none of, he was like, John would share. And inside I'd be like, get ready, Carolyn, because we're going down.
Did I really say that to you? I don't remember telling you that you weren't funny. Come on.
I heard.
But yeah, but I mean, first of all, thank you, Reno, for that acknowledgement. I really appreciate that. Yeah, high stress, high tension, high tightness was sort of the very early
That was
on.
your brand.
My brand. Yeah.
Brand.
Yeah, I mean, in many ways, it was like and a lot of struggles and a lot of challenges and a lot of disbelief in myself and what was possible. And like I share in my story, like, and it's possible, you know, I would imagine that there are people on this call that like struggle with that, with the believing that it is possible for them. And one of the things that I always turned to was harnessing other people's belief in me when I wasn't able to really, bring forward my own. And so, Carolyn and my other coaches and whatnot really believed in me. And I just allowed myself to lean into that a little more and say, okay, well, they think I can do it. So let me do this next thing, whatever the next thing is, not like blow it out of the water and grow a huge successful business. Let me just do the next thing that's in front of me until, my own block comes up again, and then harness someone else's belief and then do the next thing. So that's really kind of my encouragement, is just, it's really one step at a time.
Right.
And just consistently over and over. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Reno. All right.
Thank you.
Andrew Greenblatt, come on down.
Okay. Actually, before I ask the question, I saw Steve was like trying to say something.
Oh, Steve Chandler.
Oh, thank you, Andrew. Nice to be seen by someone. I was just going to chime in real quickly about AI.
Please.
When we saw Sandy with Martha and that feelings connection, AI can't do that. And that only took about 2 minutes. So AI can't do that. It cannot connect on a feelings level. It cannot relate the way we can relate to other people. So that's all. Thanks, Andrew.
Andrew, what do you got? What's your question?
So we talked about it yesterday, Carolyn, that I'm out to move with grace and ease this year. I looked up grace. I haven't looked up ease yet, but I looked up grace, and it's like a simple elegance, a refinement of movement. And one of the things that I find in my practice is that, though, like, I sometimes find myself asking, what's the next best thing to do? What should I do next? Where am I headed? Sort of. And then I get into this in between space, and then I start looking at my bank account, and then it just sort of like, it's like I get off the, as Steve said, like, my creative energy is no longer focused on other people. And I'm so appreciative that Steve was talking about working out systems. Because as an athlete, like, I really appreciate just like, sometimes I go out into the park and I dance and it's amazing and there's no structure and it's exactly what I need. And sometimes I go to the gym and I just basically complete a to-do list. And you know what I mean? And like both are necessary in my movement practice as I move towards simple elegance and refinement. And like in my coaching movement, like coaching, I just wonder, like, how, like, what type of systems, right? What type of habits, what type of routines do folks have in place that keep them consistently in action around reaching out and connecting and enrolling?
perfect question, Andrew. I so appreciate that you asked that. And that's worthy of each faculty member answering from my point of view. So let's start with Charita, and then Charita, you'll hand it to someone else so that everyone really heard Andrew's question is like, what systems do you use to keep you consistently serving in an action? Like what does that for you? So Charita, let's hear it. Oh wait, is there more?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, like, I want to say one more thing about it. Like what I'm imagining, like, for example, like one idea I had, and I don't need coaching on my system. Like, I really do want to hear everyone's perspective. But like, one idea I had was like, I have this 20-minute walk to the gym. Like, what if every time I walk to the gym, I sent one thoughtful voice note to a new connection? Like, I'm not looking for like, here's the laundry list of like 10 things. Here's how, like, I'm a star entrepreneur. Like, it's like, because my thought meet thing, like, once I get into thinking mode and like, what should I do next? Boom, I'm out.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm trying, yeah.
Yeah. So since it's all our own systems and this is just what I do, in the morning, I like to meditate and I like to have downloads about people in my life or people I'm curious about or people that I'm interested in. And I'll send them a voice note. I'll send them a voice memo. I happened to read the paper today and there were a few people who I had never met before who were being honored at a gala. I sent them a voice note on LinkedIn and was like, hi, you don't know me, but we've been in each other's orbit for a while. And I heard that you're getting this award. Thank you so much for what you're doing in our community. I think at the heart of it, I'm always acknowledging people. I make it a practice to acknowledge people daily. And for me to do that, I'm always acknowledging myself. So when I do get tight, when I do get in that scarcity mode, when I'm like, oh my God, I can't breathe and I haven't got a paycheck in 2-3 months, because that has happened 6 months or more, it's like, Charita, let's go on a walk and remember who we are. How do I calm myself down? How do I realize that this is a part of business? Business is in a cycle. Money's in a cycle. There will be dry months. It's the nature of the game. Doesn't have to do with a reflection upon me or my worth. This is just how it is. And I can remember that as a professional and as a business owner. And I'm going to pick Amber Shirley.
Right. And then we'll go to the other Amber. I like having Ambers right in a row.
Yeah, same. Thanks, Charita. One of the things, and hello, Andrew. Yes, I do, similar to Charita, I do have a morning practice, I have an evening practice, but I'm just going to focus on one thing for you, Andrew, since that was your request. This I got from my coach, Devin Bandison. It's like the do it now. As soon as somebody comes into mind, you have a thought about someone. And what I encourage you to, particularly people who are not a client, who know you as a coach, maybe you've had a conversation with them, they've never paid you, they haven't hired you, but when you come across something, anything, if it's you're listening to a podcast episode, you're sending somebody else a voice note, and maybe they come to mind, use that opportunity to add value, to be of service, send them something that will brighten their day.
And we have to acknowledge, right, Amber Shirley and Devin Bandison. Devin Bandison was on faculty for 5 years. He served so beautifully. And, you know, Amber will have many, many good Devin Bandison stories. So thank you for that. Amber, Chris.
Hi, Andrew. It's good to see you again. I'm going to give you two. When I first started my coaching practice, I had $44,000 in credit card debt. And my game was like, I want to pay that off. And so I created a tracking sheet that how many connections did I send? How many conversations did I have? How much did I share in proposals? I'm happy to share that, Carolyn, that you can send to people. But every single day I looked at it. Every single day I looked at it. And so that generated the habit, right? As an athlete, or if someone wants to lose weight or has a goal of that, the numbers matter. The numbers are information, and tracking those numbers can help keep the eye on the prize. So that for me was something that I did early on. Where I am now, listening is my focus, and listening to life is how I would describe it. So it's like nurturing my partnership with capital W wisdom, capital L life, right? That idea of I'm here to be used. How can I be used today? And so practices around listening and trusting when I receive that so that I can take action on it.
One of the things I want to comment on, Amber, if this is okay, about
Yeah.
you specifically, right? So I think it's really important for everyone to know, right? All the faculty members, right? They're highly successful. They have super strong businesses. And Andrew, your question is so great, right? Because one thing I would say, like, about Amber Chris, and I know this is true for all the faculty, it's like, I saw Amber Chris when she was starting. Like, nobody was going to get in her way from what she wanted to create. Nobody and no thing inside of her. So for you, Andrew, I know your goal, like, so Andrew, you crossed the 6-figure mark last year, right? And now your goal is to take it higher, which is fabulous. And, I don't know if everyone remembers this, and it's, to me, this is how I see Amber Chris. Tarita said, I forget your phrase here, but you're like, the last thing that's going to get in the way of my business is me. I'm not going to be the one who gets in the way of my business. And that's how Amber was. She was just like, she was dedicated. She was fierce. So her own process never, like, it was there, but it did not get in her way. So she was like, and she was wildly coachable, right? She was like, oh, they said do this. She just was like, I'm doing it. And so I offer that to you, Andrew, and to everyone. Like, systems are great. And if you're not going to do them, if you don't actually go, I'm doing that. I'm taking that from Amber Chris today. Whichever one you decide, Andrew, if you're like, I'm going to take one thing, like, just be like, I'm getting on this. Mm-hmm. Like, close the gap on hearing something you want to try out and doing. Thank you so much for that, Amber.
Yeah.
Steve Chandler.
Yeah, there was a point in my life where my coaching practice was a struggle. It was like you said, Andrew, I was always, oh, what should I do? What am I supposed to do? I'm curious. And I was playing this little boy game that I had played for decades. I'm lost and afraid in a world I never made. Somebody tell me what to do. And I finally reached a point, and I had somebody who was mentoring me at the time and said, listen, your life doesn't have to be a battle against circumstance if you don't want it to be. It could be a work of art your entire life. And if you want your business to be a work of art, your canvas is your calendar. Fall in love with your calendar. Have your calendar be the canvas on which you create your life. So I would take my calendar, I'd create my week, and I would look at what I was committed to creating, and I would put blocks of time for that to make sure it occurred. And it was a system in which I had a partnership with my calendar, and I realized that if it wasn't on my calendar, if I didn't book it for myself and then follow the system as it was talking to me, I would not have what I wanted in life. So my number one system that really worked for me was to have my calendar reflect what I was committed to. So if you wanted to know what I was committed to in the world, you'd look at my calendar and you'd see blocks of time for taking a walk, playing the piano, cultivating clients. And before I did this, cultivating clients, planting the seeds that would lead to clients, that would come last. That would be the thing I was afraid to do. And I try to work that in around all the other stuff I was thinking I probably should have a website. I probably should join this group. I probably should. And that was my system. Have my calendar reflect my commitment to what I'm up to. And another thing, second system, this school that Carolyn has is a system in and of itself. And I remember Martha said, I've got to trust that it'll work. I found out my trying to trust things before I executed and applied was bad time management, because I could spend the rest of my life trying to trust that the water would hold me up and I would never learn to swim. If I had to trust it ahead of time, I would never learn to swim. If I had to trust that a bicycle would not tip over, I would never ride a bike. So I began to set trust aside and replace it with action. I'm just going in. Here's the system, I'm using it. And if I want grace and ease, that's part of the work of art that I'm creating. I'm in charge of grace and ease. It doesn't come to me some mysterious way. I create that. Every day when I wake up, I create it. I create what I want. And that's it for me.
Thank you, Steve. That was great. Calendar is your canvas. Sandy,
Yeah.
as Sandy's coming down, I'll share what Michelle would say. We vote with two things. We vote with our calendar and we vote with our checkbook, right? You want to see what's important to someone, look at their calendar and look at their checkbook. Although checkbooks are like now in museums, we don't really use checkbooks anymore. So some of us do, but you look at your bank statement, right? It's like, that's what we vote with. Steve's like, his calendar is his canvas. What matters to him is reflected there. Sandy, go for it.
Yeah. So first of all, Andrew, I want to acknowledge you. You know, you're in my world, it's called Kobe Bryant status, right? You don't just want the gym to open. I mean, you're sweating it out. So I just acknowledge you for being in that realm. That's the first thing. And what I can share with you is what's helped me is a combination. First of all, there's a Netflix documentary called Stutz, and I highly recommend it. It's an hour and 20 minutes. It's incredible. I've watched it 5 times, 3 times with my husband, who doesn't watch things with me. So it's really amazing. Stutz, S-T-U-T-Z. And one thing that helps me, Andrew, is I don't ask myself why. Why am I not doing that? Why is that not happening? And in Phil Stutz's world, why am I in pain and why is there uncertainty here in my life? If I'm truly interested in pain and uncertainty as a distraction, I'm calling my coach. And I've done it from Italy. I've done it in my highest earning year. I've done it in my lowest earning year. One thing that I have trained myself is to the third part of Phil Stutz is to, no matter what the noise is in my head, Andrew, I keep moving forward. Like, period, end of sentence. Kobe Bryant, what does he call it? What is it? Mamba. Like, get in my way and I'll take you with me. I'm on the court, and yes, I feel pain. Absolutely, I experience uncertainty. And if it's to the level of a distraction, I'm bringing it up with my coach or my business partner so that I can get it handled. Because I'm telling you, just like Kobe gets on the court and plays the game, I'm moving forward.
Great. And one thing I want to add to that, and then Johnny, if you have a system you want to share with Andrew, because you're in the second year of the school, I want to say to you, you already have evidence of your ability to create, right? You already have evidence that you've had, whatever you've done has created what you've wanted. You already have evidence, right? There are people here who don't have real evidence yet. You have evidence, and you want to make sure you're paying attention to that. Like, this is all about just keep moving forward, right? Like, in some ways you have a working system. Otherwise you wouldn't have gotten to 6 figures. You wouldn't have. And that's what's that background as an athlete is what's helped you so much, right? Because you, back when you were enrolling to school, you were like, I'm going to be coachable, Karen. I know how to do that, right? Like, you can count on me. So I just offer that to you. I just offer that. Johnny, anything you want to share?
Yeah. I would say my system is kind of comes down to checking my own thinking and going to and using my coach. Like, really, whenever I have a thought that is triggering me or leading to anxiety or doubt or questions or things like that, that's information that it's time for me to get support. It's time for me to find a new way of relating to it or whatever. And typically I'll, like, the moment or as soon as possible, I will reach out to my coach, or when I didn't have a coach, I had the school, and get support so that I could like shift my thinking back into a much more resourceful space inside, so that action then became more accessible to me. Because those thoughts and emotions, when they came up, they would stop me. They would, contribute to all of the, I don't know what to do sort of thing. And then I'm like, okay, well, if that's present, then it's time for me now to get support in some way, so that no longer is in my way. And I have no idea what the coaching is going to create for me. That's the beauty of it. It's like, I can't see it in the moment. So I need to go and get the support that I can get as quickly as possible to remove the block and continue to move forward.
And one of the things I'll add to that, and I think we got all the faculty in, right, Johnny? Everyone has answered that question.
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
And this is for all of us, for everyone here. One of the things coaches consistently do to get in their own way is they get bogged down in their thinking, right? It's like that seems to be often a theme for coaches, sometimes even really successful coaches. And that's something I pay attention to, Andrew. It's like, if I'm in thinking and I've known, like, I haven't sent an email, I haven't had a communication, I haven't served someone else, I'm always paying attention to, where am I getting too fascinated with myself? Like, you know what, where am I getting too fascinated with myself? It's like, I'm not, you know what, like, that's not me making a difference in the world. And it doesn't mean I'm gentle with myself, but I don't want to get that fascinated with myself, right? It's like, one of the things I so appreciated about my training ground, which was at the University of Santa Monica, in the master's program in spiritual psychology. One of the intentions of a USM education is to create people who are serving in the world. So the intention of a USM education is to go from being process-centered to service-centered. So I want to say that again. It's to go from being process-centered to service-centered. So for all of us, this is a profession that's service-centered, and it's centered on others. It's centered on others. So in some ways, there's no way to mess it up other than me just thinking about myself. That's the only real way to mess this up. It's like, I can be messy, I can be awkward connecting, I can do all that. But if I'm like rushing and like trying to get to the next person while I'm with someone, that's how we're not like slowing down. Being with people is really the greatest opportunity we all have. Whenever I would be like, well, how am I going to get to the 5 people? Steve would be like, where's your next conversation on your calendar? Just start with them. Just start. Be with that person. Got it? Thank you, Andrew. All right, let's go to Kyle, and then we're going to go to Shannon, Stacy. Let's see if we can hit all of them.
Hear me? Okay. So great to be with all you. In late February, I'm going to be hosting and facilitating my first workshop that's far away. So I'm doing it in Florida. It's going to be a 2-day workshop, and I've really loved doing workshops this last year. They've all been local. So I'd love whoever wants to jump in on, giving me coaching on that. And also, while I'm here, I want to say thank you, Carolyn, for a couple of years back in the school when I was talking about the idea of doing a complimentary event. And you're like, so Kyle, when are you doing it? I was like, thanks for the loving push to help me get to where I'm at.
So you're so welcome, Kyle. I want to make sure I heard your question. Are you wanting was it about like when you're doing something somewhere else, like you're leading this event somewhere else, or was there something else in there you wanted coaching on? I just want to make sure.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying. I would love coaching on specifically the pieces that are new to me in how I guess really how I fill this workshop, really. How do I enroll this workshop well? Thank you. Because what's new to me is it's in a faraway location that
Yes.
I really don't have community there. I want to be both enrolling people from my existing community, the Philadelphia area, to go down there and do it, and enroll people, like market to them in the local area. Yeah, is that enough?
All right, so I'm going to respond first, and then we literally, we have, I mean, all the faculty are constantly filling their own events, but Sandy literally just finished filling a leadership event in Sarasota, and people came from all over the place. So Sandy, I want to hear from you on that. And Kyle, what I want to say to you is it's really not that different in some ways, right, than any event you filled locally, right? It's like, I want to be connecting with people, and I want to be, this is for everyone. I don't care if you're doing a local event, a Zoom event, or one in another country like Amber Chris just did. I want to be singing from the rooftops the potential for people in this, right? So Steve Chandler always says, like, when you're filling an event, it's different than when you're creating a one-on-one client. When you're filling an event, you can I'll be like, Sandy, you should totally come do this. I will harass her. I will get in her world. I will be like, Sandy, did I tell you that Tarita is going to be at that event? Someone you really want to meet. I will share about the quality of the people who are also going to be there. I want to use it. I want to be very different when I'm filling an event than when I'm creating a one-on-one client. One-on-one clients, we don't chase. We certainly don't harass. I will tease, I will do all sorts of stuff in the name of filling an event, because I'm talking about the event. I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about what's going to happen there, right? And for you to know, Kyle, when people are traveling somewhere, the value is even greater, because it's like the value of like, I'm going to get more because I'm investing more. I'm putting time and money to travel. So that's a great thing. And then Sandy, what do you want to say?
So first of all, Kyle, I want to have compassion for the limiting belief. There's a forecast for you that people are different anywhere else than where you are. So just to really normalize this, I can absolutely remember it was about maybe 10 years ago. I was in Dubai, and I was so scared to lead an event. I called my daughter crying, and I said, I want to run out into the desert, and I never want to come back. And respectfully, and I mean this super respectfully, Kyle, they were just like you. It's amazing. It's amazing how people are just like us. And how I say it is, no one's like, I'm just like you and no one's like me. So in the last event that we just filled, I love it that Carolyn said Sarasota, that's in Florida. Saratoga is actually where it was. We were the Gaga people. And I remember we were at an event in LA, and Allie and I were generating this idea to fill it with 26 people. And I said, Kyle, I go, yeah, let's go to Detroit. And Carolyn and Allie were like, what's the matter with you? All you Detroit people, I love Detroit. Detroit's great. I don't want it. And I was thinking, well, that's an easy place for people to get to. And then Carolyn and Allie were like, wait a minute, Saratoga's in our backyard. We live in New York. And so I would just encourage you to be choiceful about where you're going to lead this, and that you love it. Because the people are just like all the people on this call. I just have found that, and I've been around the world 7 times, Kyle. People are just like you. So I wouldn't make that any bigger than it needs to be.
Awesome. Thanks,
Thank you so
Kyle.
much.
Thanks, Sandy. All right, Shannon. And then Reno, Amber Shirley is going to answer your question in the chat, so be on the lookout for that. Shannon, what can we do for you?
Hello, thank you, Carolyn. I'm so enthralled to be in this space. Everybody is looking so wonderfully. And I have a question specifically about enrollment and just kind of stepping forward and kind of daring greatly, kind of stepping beyond your perceived limitations. And and I'm getting a lot of from what has already been shared, but I'm getting a lot of feedback from the universe right now that I have that I'm very powerful as a coach. And it's interesting. It's like finding a little pot of gold under a tree, because like you, I've been in a business that serves coaches for so long. And I've just moved to a new location. You could see my beautiful mountain home. And I am in the situation where I'm starting to work with clients and I feel I'm not really serving them to the greatest extent. And what my thoughts are about this is that I have become kind of burdened with things like an existing business with debt, that I have this idea that, number one, I can't afford a coach for myself. Number two, I am too shy to do personal enrollment. Like when I first came to this town, I said, I'm going to be walking through this town as a coach. I'm going to be making eye contact. I'm going to be connecting and meeting with everybody. And slowly but surely, I kind of got into my little cocoon, and I'm kind of, went into my default mode. And so I'm in this space right now where I'm just very curious about what it would look like for me to start acting with a greater degree of faith. And I love what Steve Chandler said about the calendar as well. I'm getting a little bit of if I happen to drop off, well, let's just complete this. So that's my inquiry. Anything that can be spoken of about that.
I think we should hear from both Amber, Chris, and Steve Chandler, because remember, Amber said she was 44K in debt. Steve Chandler had a whole bunch more debt. I mean, Johnny had debt too, but let's hear from some other people who had lots of debt. And shyness, because Amber, she said, I can be an introvert, right? And then Steve Chandler, I know, has things to say about this. So Amber, you want to take it first?
Sure. Shannon, can you hear me?
Yes.
If you had to have, well, let me ask you this. Are you clear about your want, what you want your work to be like, look like, feel like?
Yes, I'm very clear that I want to be leading workshops and doing one-on-one coaching.
Okay. So if you had to say today how committed you are to that vision, between a number of 1 and 10, where 1 is I'm not committed at all, and 10 is I'll do anything to make that happen, what's your number?
Well, the first thing that comes into mind is, boy, I just like to be comfortable right now. I've had so much rocky stuff in my life. I just want to be calm and be not just kind of ordinary for a while. I kind of want to walk around in a cocoon. I mean, there's that voice.
Yeah.
And exactly. And I'm getting I'm getting a bit of a revival with my business. I'm getting a lot. The universe is giving me a lot right now. And so I would put that number as a 7.
Great. See, what I love, Shannon, is the honesty of, I just want to be in my cocoon right now, or I just want to feel that comfort right now. That this is the dance. Anytime we're stretching, there's a part of us that is going to be resistant to who we need to become, right, in order to live the new vision, because who we need to become is a different identity, a different belief structure than who we are today. So that means, this is going to be a news flash to anyone, but it's like there's a death to an egoic idea, right? The ego is going to fall away. And so what I would offer to you, Shannon, right now is it's a dual practice. You can still provide comfort, right? You can comfort the one inside that's just craving, like the part of you that's just craving, I don't want to stretch, right? I just want peace. Like you could put some practices in place to really support that. And then you can be like, and I'm going to take you with me. I'm not going to make you, right? The little scared part. I'm not going to make you reach out and do the invitations or go to this new place or be really extroverted with people. I'm not going to make you do that. I'm going to do that. And I'm going to give you a real trick. Your body if you start to notice, there's a real connection between the body and the mind. If you're out and about in the world and you notice that your body's starting to hunker down, you're starting to collapse. Yep, that's a signal that's your body saying to your mind, right? I'm not safe here. I have nothing to offer here. And your brain's like, oh yeah, okay, great. Stay small, protect yourself. So you can actually use your body this is a cheat, right? Like stand up, lift your chest, lift your chin, hold your hands on your hips to send a different signal to your brain that's like, we got this.
I love it.
Thank you, Amber. And you know, it's actually very ironic. I'm losing power in my phone because I have been too out of faith to buy a new phone. And you know what you shared about it's almost like owning it at a physical level.
I'm going to say one more thing.
Yes.
How much do you want that new phone?
Not really. There's part of me that just wants
I was
to
like, because what
have
you
a
could
phone
do,
until it disintegrates.
Well, what you could do, Shannon, is you could play the game of, I'm getting a new, like the next client is paying for this new phone. I'm going to make that happen right now.
And that can happen right now. That can happen. And here's the thing, a phone is a way of me showing up in the way that's going to allow me to be of greater service.
Right. Steve Chandler.
Thank you.
What do you want to share? You with us, Steve?
I don't have anything to add to what Amber said. That was great.
Okay, got it. All right. So let's go Stacy, Eduardo, and then Lynn. And then Steve, you'll come back because I know people have questions about that there's no need to do events. And that's a really important thing for people to hear from you. Stacy, how you doing?
I'm great. Thank you all for your service in the world and for this beautiful community. So one of my limiting stories and patterns has been, I got to do it all myself. And I've run several companies and really exhausted the hell out of myself. And so I'm really curious what everyone has done. Because I don't just want to hire some warm body. I would really love to get the right the right people in the right place who might have high consciousness and background in coaching businesses. So I was wondering if anybody has, who have they hired anybody to support them, like curriculum, running things like this in the background. I was just wondering if you guys
explain a little bit more, Stacy, what you mean. Like, so in other words, you're a coach.
New.
You're a new coach.
Yes.
So what are you wanting to hire someone for? Like, what
So,
would they do?
Exactly. So I have I have ideas for all the curriculum, but like having somebody I'm like the visionary, and I'd want somebody to sort of execute and implement. So I'm not doing everything from A to Z. Does that make sense? So helping me just sort of, I guess, execute and operations and run the business. And I have the story, like, I haven't created the curriculum before. I don't know, just somebody maybe who's worked in a coaching business. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm so happy to talk with you about that. And I'm going to offer you something for your consideration.
Thank you.
I think there's great value in you actually doing some of the creation on your own first, right? Because see, you said you're a newish coach. Did I hear that?
Correct.
And have you created clients yet?
3.
Paid or unpaid?
Yes, paid.
Okay, great. Fabulous. Congratulations. 3 is a lot, just so you know. And what I want to say to you is, it's like I didn't know how to create curriculum back when I started. None of these coaches did, right? They didn't know what they were doing. I mean, it's like Steve Chandler was like, just like me, was making it up as he went along, right? He had to do it and get messy. And then it's like, and for me personally, it's like, I have a coach. I have more than one coach, but I have a primary coach, and that is Steve Chandler. And I've never wanted to farm out anything like curriculum creation. Like, I don't want to farm that out, because there's so much value in me figuring out what I want to say and how I want to serve people through that. So I want to be a voice for that. See, it's like, because when you've created curriculum and then you take the next step of like, well, maybe I want someone else to help me execute this. It's like, then you are so certain in what it is.
Yeah.
Because you've done the work on creating it, versus like, you're still kind of not sure and you're still like learning, like it's like that can make for a really challenging situation to bring people into early.
Perfect. So my question is, so let's say I've done the curriculum, but
Yeah.
I want somebody to work with me because I always do everything and then I'm not available. My energy isn't available for creation. And I don't like doing some of the execution. So I was just wondering, like, you know, because my request of the universe is to find somebody who is really passionate about consciousness and, you know, it's kind of like in the world, because I know e-commerce and I know, and so I just didn't know if there were, how people found their support.
I mean, such a great question. And I encourage you, like, there are so many great communities where coaches reside, right? It's like, you know, there's my school community, right? But Steve has his own community on Facebook that hundreds of coaches participate in. It's like, there are so many places coaches go to talk and connect. I would go and put that out there, because you're like, here you're in a room of, you know, there are going to be 300 plus coaches who either watch the recording or are here right now. It's like, it's a big question. And I would offer to you that you might be jumping the gun a little. Like, it's like you're going to see, it's like our stories get written one chapter at a time.
Yeah.
And I can't jump to the 5th chapter if I haven't written the 2nd chapter yet. Like, that's not how my experience with myself and every coach I know. It's like, I learn things as I go. So if I start asking that question, someone's going to come forward and I'm like, but I haven't even worked out my own thinking and thoughts yet. And it can be really premature. So I just offer, Stacy, that there might be value in slowing yourself down to right where you are now.
I received that. Thank you.
Got it? Great.
Yeah.
All right. Eduardo, please join us.
There you go. This is exciting. And thank you, well, all of you guys for putting it on, and everybody else who's here. And thank you for the space. This is actually really exciting for me. Let's see where I can kind of take this. There's a lot of questions and there's a lot of us. So I'm going to try to pinpoint this. I created, for the last 12 years of my life, a retreat center here in I'm actually in Costa Rica. I'm Canadian, Costa Rican, both, but I'm here now for the retreat season. I created a retreat center. It's a reserve. It's this magical, beautiful place. And for the last 10 years, I've been hosting for coaches and a lot of different types of coaching and meditating and yoga and you name it, everything from ayahuasca, all these things for other people. But recently I came into my power and said, you know, I created this center. I've had so much experience. I've been more of a fitness coach in the past. I've done a lot of things. And so I have a very broad set of skills. And so I decided, you know what, I'm the creator, I'm the owner of this place. I've seen so many people transform here, and I know the power of this. I want to step into it. I want to put on the coach jersey, you know, and do this. And so in thinking, okay, who do I want to serve? You know, I'm going to say like maybe 90% of the people that have been through Chakra Retreat Center have been women. I guess the word retreat sells more to women, or I don't know, maybe the people that I've hosted for were women that attracted more women. And so, you know, that's wonderful. I could, you know, cater to women, but I also know, and as a man, that there is a huge need for, you know, these kind of retreats or interventions or, you know, experiences for men, you know, to go out there and, you know, be in touch with yourself, with nature, reconnect with yourself, reconnect with each other. You know, the center is beautiful because it has a space for things, but it has the outdoors. So we have all these activities, climbing trees and rappelling waterfalls, and it's a very like really cool. Everything comes together. There's community service with the beautiful coffee village. There's a lot of change that happens in a short period of time. And so I guess my question is, from you guys' experience, should I just go for the niche that I know that is going to sign up more, which is, I guess, women? Or should I just kind of bite the bullet and say, hey, guys, join me? I don't know. I'm still on the fence whether I should go for the main or go for the smaller niche. So
Eduardo, I so appreciate your question, and I so admire that you have looked at all this and gone, wait, I could do this, right? Like, wow. And I'm going to have to ask Johnny to come down, because Johnny, there's so many similarities from what you've shared. And Johnny has led, like, he used to help people lead retreats, and then he started leading his own, like, so similar, right, Johnny, to what your process has been like. And I want to say something before Johnny jumps in, Eduardo.
Mm-hmm.
The most important thing is that it's something you want to do, right? Like, I wouldn't get too caught up in, should I start with women? Should I start with men? What's the right answer? I would start with, like, what excites me? If serving men excites you because you're a man and you feel like you have some value to add there, like, don't get too caught up in what's the right idea, because you have a lot of experience that will serve either way. And then I will let Johnny share.
I mean, that's essentially what I was going to say as well. Like, there are enough men out there who want and crave that exact experience that you're talking about. And if that's what lights you up, then speak to men from that place inside, because that's going to sell and enroll them into the experience more than, who's the lowest hanging fruit. Essentially, like, you want to enjoy. I love leading retreats. It's one of my favorite things to do. I take people to Peru and Belize and create just incredible experiences. And it's one of the funnest, most incredible things, part of aspects of my business. And you want to be lit up while you're doing it. And so be guided by that. And the men, if that is, the calling, the men, you'll find them. They will, if that's the energy and message that you're putting out into the world, you will connect with the people who should be on your retreat and come to your experience. So really lead from that place inside.
Agree. And Eduardo, I want to say one other thing, and then Lynn, we're going to bring you down, and Steve Chandler might be willing to stay on a few more minutes. Eduardo, don't wait. So don't get like, just pick one. Just be like, okay, I'm going to start with a small retreat for men, or I'm going to start with women because it feels easier to me. Don't wait. Like, don't get too caught up in what's the right one. We all have so many ideas. It's like, pick one. Start somewhere, because if you start, you're going to start learning. You'll get feedback. You'll be like, oh, that went well, that didn't. But you can't get the experience just by sitting up here trying to decide. And
I would add one more thing for your consideration, Eduardo. As clear as you are in sharing your past with us, one thing that didn't match for me is, as soon as Johnny came on and he shared, you said, let's team up. Whoa. Now that comment, in my listening, and I don't even know you, Eduardo, that's not from your future, that's from your past. And just notice.
Oh, from the past experience of hosting 4 other people.
Yes, that's what I want to say.
Thank you, Sandy.
Thank you, Sandy.
Thank
you, everybody.
Come on down. And remember, we're going to stay. So Johnny and I are going to stay. Faculty, obviously, you are welcome to go. If you want to hang out for a few more minutes, we'd love to have you, but there's no requirement. Lynn.
Hi.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm Lynn. Thanks so much. This has been so much fun. And actually, Andrew asked my question. So it was fabulous to hear everybody's response. So then what other question could I ask? So I'm going to be in the school this year. I'm super excited about it.
Lynn's been lurking around the school for how long?
I don't know, 5 years since you started, I guess.
Everybody knows. So don't like be like, oh, like really 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, I told you last year when you were enrolling, I'm still working. I can't devote everything I can to the school. So I'm making a conscious choice not to join last year. So now I'm retired. And so this has been a limiting belief that I've had. And it has to do with comparison, because all of the faculty is so successful and prosperous, and there are going to be lots of coaches in the school. So I want to do this differently. I don't want to go into comparison mode, as Michelle Bauman said, to compare is to despair, right? So yeah, I can practice compassionate self-forgiveness for myself for the judgments that come up, but yeah.
Talk to us about comparison.
Who did you say?
Steve.
Me?
Yeah, you.
Yeah. It doesn't serve me. It doesn't serve others. It's a game we love to play. It starts out in high school, and oh, what's he wearing? And oh, does he work out? And how does he talk? How does she walk? And it's a carryover from adolescence. But it has no positive function in the world of coaching. Rather than comparing myself negatively to someone else, I want to allow them to inspire me. I want to say, what is it about this prosperous coach, and I'm not prosperous yet, that I can learn from, that I can apply and do my way? And Carolyn, if you don't mind, you asked me to stay on a little bit.
Yeah.
And if you don't mind this, Lynn, I'm going to throw something else out there. If I'm a new coach on this call, the last 30 minutes, I'm getting kind of an impression that we all do events and you have to do events. And all of a sudden I'm getting butterflies like, oh my gosh, I have to do events. Listen to all these people that are all doing events. I thought I could just be a coach and talk to people in a safe way. I love one-on-one. I don't want to stand in front of a room. I don't want to go to Costa Rica and host people like Amber Chris does. I mean, so it's so unnecessary to do events. I just wanted to throw that out there. It's an optional add-on if you love it, but it has nothing to do with whether you become successful. So I've said my piece. Sorry, Lynn, that doesn't relate to what you were saying.
I hear you. I know it's not serving me. I know it's not serving me, and I know exactly where it comes from in adolescence. Those are all absolutely 100% true.
Yeah, and you can drop it. You can say, okay, that was then, this is now, I don't do it. Drop it.
Thank you.
Stop.
Yeah, remember Bob Newhart? Stop it.
Stop it. Just don't do it. We catch yourself doing it, say, wait, that doesn't serve me, it doesn't serve them, it's not rational. This person is here to inspire me, not to make me feel less than them.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just a reframe, just reframing it.
That's right.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're so welcome. One thing I want to mention that the faculty have all done, we have created a piece that if you want it, you can write to me or Johnny and request it. And it is more about creating your 2024. So if you're watching the recording or you're still on the call, it's like, you can write to us. It's, to me, each faculty member wrote something about creating your 2024. To me, it's one of those things you want to print out, you want to study it, you want to highlight the things, and you want to use it, right? You want to be like, I'm taking this and I'm doing that thing that Amber Chris said. I'm talking about that thing that Steve said, or Sandy, or Johnny, or myself. So that's available to you. Write to us if you'd like it. And Nisha, let's hear from you. And then we'll go to you, Richard. You're on mute. I can't, no.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I think that's the setting there. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. It's been so amazing. And thank you, all the faculties. Lots of learning here. The question that I have is, when the feeling of too much to do is there, there is also a feeling of no urgency to accomplish. Like, that paradoxical feeling, like, I have so much to do, but then you sit here and think, oh, what do I do? Like, that, what do you do? Like, do you get those feelings? I'm not sure whether you even get that, but
Oh yeah, Nisha, I get those feelings a lot, right? Because there's a lot I could choose from, right? So it's like I could, I'm finishing up my new book, which is for coaches, and I'll be sharing more about that probably in the next week. There's lots I could do, and then there's like I could reach out and serve someone, right? And I'm always thinking about like what's gonna get me to the direct thing I want, right? So if I'm a coach and I'm like, I want a client, then the next thing I need to do needs to be being in connection with someone. That's always going to win for me. It's not going to be anything that appears administrative, quote unquote, in my world. It's not like I'm going to be like, no, it's like, this is about like having a laser focus on what is it I want most? Well, I want money in my bank account. Well, the way I do that is through serving people. So that has to be, am I in conversation? I want to be looking at my calendar. Remember what Steve said. My calendar is my canvas. If my calendar is empty of conversations and connections, that's not going to get me what I want. So that's always going to win for me.
so then don't you have that feeling of procrastination coming very high, Carolyn?
I don't care though. I'm like, I just don't like that. I don't let that feeling get in the way of creating what I want. Like, who doesn't? Is there anyone here who doesn't have that experience of procrastination? Like, who doesn't feel that? I mean, right. Raise your hand if you feel that regularly.
I feel regularly.
Who doesn't feel that regularly? That's part of like running a business from my point of view. So I'm like, procrastination. I don't go, wow, that's bad. I'm like, hi, procrastination. Thank you for sharing. Okay, on to my next task called who can I serve? It's like procrastination. I mean, unless I'm like avoiding getting my taxes in, which is important because I don't want to have to pay more money. I'm like, it doesn't get that much of my attention. Can you hear that?
Thank you.
It's like, think of procrastination like a cartoon character. It's like a cartoon character. It's like, oh, Misha, you're bad. You're wrong. You should do something. I'm like, thank you. You're so cute. You're so cute. I have to go serve someone. I'll come back to you. I'm not going to let you hang out there forever. But it's not like, okay.
Okay. That's a nice example. I can remember that. Yes. Thank you.
Richard Morgan, come on down.
And and now I'm not muted.
We can hear you.
All of a sudden things popped up on my screen. Man, I wanted to put my hand down so many times. I kept thinking, why do you have this hand up? Put this hand down. Anyway, so great to see you and Steve and Johnny and everybody. Amazing, cool stuff. And I'm just sitting here thinking, am I the only one who gets lonely? The only one who feels isolated in coaching? And I don't know, I'm curious to hear. So I coach part-time, very consistently, but part-time, and make art, work as an artist. And all of this is, coaching I consider to be it seems like a solitary behavior. There's always someone else there, but I kind of disappear in it. And so I feel somewhat alone afterwards. And I don't know, so I'm just curious about.
I love that you brought that up, Richard. And I want to be a voice for coaching can be a very lonely profession because we sit in our houses or our apartments and we are behind our computers, and it can be. And to me, the antidote to that is community. So I make being in community as a professional coach is very important. It's not a throwaway. It's not like, oh, community's so nice. It's not, no. I do better in community. I do better in creating more business. I do better in feeling better about myself. And I do better in learning, because right, in this kind of call, right, you get ideas and you hear from people, right? So raise your hand if you would concur that coaching can be a very lonely profession. Right? So do you see that?
Yeah.
So the antidote, Richard, is community, right? So it doesn't matter where you get community from, but you have to, that has to be a priority. And I mean that for all of us, right? It's like many of the coaches who end up coming to my school and they come back, they're coming back because they make more money every year, but they're also coming back because, like, wow, I do so much better in community. So whether it's with a small group, whether it's in a school, whether it's something, community is a priority. You know, after Michelle died, my business partner, right? I didn't really know up until she was gone. I didn't know how lonely coaching could be, because Michelle, right, was my community. So when Michelle died and I was all alone, and I was like, wow, this is really lonely. I had no idea. And Steve was like, yeah, you've never had it because you had Michelle. And I remember I hung out on my own for a year, right? I was, in grief, I was doing my work, and Steve reached out to me, and he was still coaching me, but he was like, I want you to come do this group. I'm doing a small group of coaches, and I think it'll really serve you. And Richard, no part of me wanted to do it. I was really hunkered down in isolation, right? And the grief, but I trust my coach. And I was like, okay, it was the best thing I ever did. And even though I literally did not want to, but I was like, I'm going to listen to him, because I know when he says that to me, he means it. And, lo and behold, like, that's really where some of the best people I ever met came from. Devin Bandison, one of my greatest friends, who ended up being on faculty at the school for 5 years, right? I never would have met him. I knew him, but I would never have spent that kind of time with him unless I'd gone into that group. I can tell you, like, Johnny can speak to this, some of the most important relationships come from those communities. They just,
It's strange. I'll tell you a short, strange story. A client hired me. We worked together for about a year, and he was wanting to become a coach, successful. He was gradually becoming a very successful coach, and he wanted to create a men's group. And it sounded so amazing. And because I come to know him, I said, hey, would it be weird if I was in your men's group and we were still, we're still coaching? He said, that would be totally crazy weird, and do it, like, for sure. So I did. So for about a year and a half, almost 2 years, I was in his men's group. And then we also co-created another men's group with a bunch of real high, like really wild, amazing people in it, which we then co-coached for 2 or 3 more years. And now I have, and it's like all mixed around and swirling and woven together like a fabric. And it just blows my mind how I think part of that was driven by my need for people in a way. Like, I think that was, and so someone said, it might have been you that said earlier on this call, being careful about misleading yourself, or about
being suspicious of yourself. That was Sandy Sullivan.
Yeah, and so it kind of got me thinking, what am I missing about my own behavior? And so I think that and I hate using the word loneliness, but it is a loneliness.
Well, first of all, we're in a loneliness epidemic.
Yeah.
That's the new epidemic.
I'm not lonely. What are you talking about?
Right. Like, that's a real thing that is occurring all over the world, right? I did a whole email around that, Richard. I don't know if you saw that. It was like a month ago. And it was all about loneliness and how it's impacting globally, what communities are doing globally, and how, as coaches, we can be an antidote to that, but we have to have our own loneliness handled. And the one thing I want to say to you, Richard, I totally get it, and how great that worked with your client. And that's rare.
Yeah, it was weird.
I don't want to be getting my sustenance for community. I don't want to really be getting that from my clients. It doesn't mean it doesn't occur. You know what I mean? Of course. But I also want to have my own place. That's, like, for me, with colleagues and peers, right? It's really important that we spend time with colleagues and peers.
Yeah.
You want to talk about that at all, Johnny?
Yeah. I mean, It was one of my favorite things about being a student in the school was having a peer group of coaches that were all, working to build their business together. Like we were all playing a similar game, that it was so refreshing to look around and be like, oh, I have peers now. I'm not just, in my office, in my room at my house in Minnesota.
He's not in his dungeon by
in
himself.
my dungeon, yes. And so, like for me, like one of the ways that I do that is I'll do programs, the school being one, but also other coaching programs and things like that, so that I have peers that I connect with and things like that. And so it's not only local is great. And, I have a lot of online, a small men's group. I have a dad's group that I go to. Like there's just a lot of different things that, ways that I support myself in creating that, because I found it to be so valuable when I initially attended the school and realized how important it was.
And I really want everyone to hear this. I appreciate so much, Reno, what you wrote in the chat. I go to meetings regularly. I meet with a group of coaches once per week. I also create and host community. It's like air and water. Charita Preston is developing a community for professional women of color. Amber Shirley has a community that she's created called The Created Life. Like, I think as coaches, we are uniquely qualified to create communities. And if we're not in community ourselves, our cup gets low, right? Like, and that's just a real thing. Our own cup, our own like cup of inspiration gets low. Right? It's like my job is to keep myself inspired. My job is to keep myself uplifted. My job is to keep myself so that I can serve others at the highest level. And the way that part of that gets handled is by being in community. So I really honor you, Richard, and I applaud your question. And I want to be a voice for make that important, because you will be a better coach because of it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Reno, did you have something you wanted to add?
Yeah, just really quick, Carolyn, I just wanted to say thank you so much. I want to acknowledge you in this moment because for me, like, there were a lot of other coaches and specifically male coaches in the space that like I was familiar with as I was entering into the space. And then you came up and I like, when I think about who I want to be when I grow up, like as a coach, I think of you, because you just radiate and exude this genuineness and also like part of my candor, but like you're a boss babe too, like I really get that from you. Like I really get that, and I just so admire those qualities. So I just wanted to acknowledge you. Yeah, thank you.
Well, Reno, I appreciate that. And Reno, like, now what's going to happen. I'm like, well, what are we waiting for? There's literally 9 spots left in the school, man. I'm like, let's go.
Yeah.
Because like, look at what you've already created on this call. Like you made yourself known. You asked a beautiful question, but I also watched you serve people in the chat.
Yeah. I live for it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Johnny and I are waiting for you.
Well, I have your emails, so you will hear from me.
All right.
Thank you.
Good. And thank you for that, Reno. That was I really appreciate that. I appreciate the acknowledgement. I appreciate that. And, thank you. So listen, we got about 10 more minutes, people. Like, what can Johnny and I do to serve you, right? Like maybe there's another question. Like, what would be helpful for you in creating your 2024, right? Like, we want you to get to work. That's part of the intention, right? I don't want people to leave this call and be like, that was so nice. It was so nice. I feel so good. If you don't get off this call and get into action tomorrow, we didn't do our job right, from my point of view. It's like, so whether that's like, what are you going to do tomorrow or tonight to put into action what you heard? You want to throw your answer in the chat. That's just fine if you don't want to share. But this is an opportunity to be like, all right, what am I taking? And then I'm going to go and do something with it, right? Like, and Johnny and I are here for you. So is there a burning question? Johnny, let me know if I'm missing someone.
I see Andrew's hand raised.
Andrew Greenblatt coming in hot.
Hey, Carolyn. So like building off of yesterday, like I have all these people who I'm going to be thoughtful in how I reapproach them or not. Like I'm just going to make a list and kind of consider each person, see what happens. But part of what is arising is that like you all said not to launch a group and like fulfill my one-on-one practice at the same time.
Oh, right.
I just like so disagree. Like I've never, you know, like I have no evidence to go off of, but like, you know, we're all talking about like, do it, don't wait, like all this stuff. And I'm just like, man, like, why not? Like, why not just get a bunch of conversations on my calendar, make a big old mess, like figure it out later. Like, what's the big deal?
Listen, I have done that. It just hasn't gone well, Andrew. It's like, and really what it means is like, if I'm distracted, right? So I have this group and I want to fill this group, but wait, there's these 3 people who want to talk about working with me one-on-one. It's like, neither is going to get my full attention. You could do it. My experience is that when I'm filling a group, if I don't dedicate myself to that, the group will not fill to the extent I wanted to. If I say it's going to be at 10, every time Michelle and I were filling those groups for women that we did when we started, right? We always had 10 people. And as soon as Michelle and I were like, oh, but this person wants to talk about one-on-one, and we'd be like, ooh, money now, right? And Steve would be like, you will not get your 10. There is so much more power in saying to someone, I will talk to you. We can put time on the calendar after my group launches. Right now, my time is dedicated to people who want to talk about my group. Because what does that say to someone when I say that?
Well, it says that you're being specific about who you're enrolling into the group.
It also says I don't get pulled off track because you might want to give me money.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, I'm dedicated to the people who want time on my calendar to talk about my group. And there's a lot of power in that because someone's like, wow, okay, I'll wait till January. Wow, that's amazing. Because so many coaches are like, of course. Like, oh yeah, like, you know what, it's like, and it's like, there's so many coaches that are just like, okay, that person wants me. Oh, that person wants me. And they're reacting and then they get, you know, slimy and salesy. And it's not being true to what you say you want. If Eduardo's like, I'm doing a men's retreat and I'm going to fill that thing, I want 5 men there. And then all of a sudden someone's like, but Eduardo, you could coach me. And he's like, okay. It's like, we can't, multitasking is a made up thing. It's a made up thing. We can only do one thing at a time, especially if we want to do something. It's the same thing, right, Andrew, as an athlete, right? If someone's like, I want to play lacrosse plus basketball, I don't know, like what someone would do. But it's like, then you're not going to excel. And I am certainly not here, like, you can run the experiment. I can't stop you, right? Like, you know, like, I mean, Steve would, like, Michelle and I, this is a funny story for everyone. And I want to acknowledge what everybody is doing in the chat, sharing what they're going to do. Linda Leland, all the people, right? Like someone's like, I'm joining this school, do it messy. And Kyle, I'm going to get people, I'm going to share about the other people coming to my event, all that, acknowledge you. Triathlon, right? So I want to share something. So we had this thing, Steve, Michelle and I were convinced that somebody would want to pay us for us to coach them together, like Michelle and I together. And Steve was like, really? Like, why would someone want 2 of you? Like, he was like, the only thing better than both of you is one of them. And we were like, oh yeah, whatever. And so we were like, we're going to get someone to pay the both of us. He's like, I don't recommend that. I think it's going to get really messy. We were like, sure. And like, everyone has the right to disregard their coach. Everyone does. I don't recommend it, but everyone's going to do it at least once, right? And we did. And Andrew, to say it was messy is an understatement, and to say that it wasn't effective, right? So it's like, I'm not saying to you, if you're called to run the experiment, we can all watch it unfold. It'll be a great movie. We'll be like, get the popcorn. Let's see how this goes for Andrew. And I'm open to being wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. I have to sit with it, like, because when I think about it, maybe there's only like, yeah, I just have to sit with it.
Yeah. And
I'm
that's
looking at a lot of open space on my calendar. So that it's like, and it's great because there's nothing on there that doesn't need to be on there. Like for the first time in 6 weeks, I actually have like, all right, like let's, like, I can like get in there.
Totally.
There's a lot of like, all right.
And I want to say something to that. So for all of us who are here and all of us who are watching the recording, coaches are really inclined to kind of sometimes do impulsive things when there's space on our calendar. Like we're like, oh, I should do a group right now. I'm not saying that's exactly what you're doing, Andrew, but let's just use it as an example. And it's not that it can't go well. And often it's like on impulse, it's almost like slowing ourselves down and going, what is the best use of my time in terms of what I want to create in my business right now? And for some of us, when it's like, I need money now, the answer is always going to be focused on individual clients. Because when you do a group, you have to wait, you have to set dates, blah, blah, blah. Some of you, look, it's like considering what's going to be for the greatest good for you and your business right now is a worthy question. It's a worthy question. And no matter what, you'll learn a lot, Andrew. Whatever you decide, you'll learn a lot.
Okay.
Will you let us know? I mean, obviously you can't let all these people know, but you're going to need to let us know in the school what you decide.
Yeah. I'll let everyone know.
Good. So we have 3 minutes left. I just really like all of you who posted, like Lynn and Courtney, Jeanette, like everybody, like just what you're going to do and what you're up to. I really, really acknowledge you. You did bravo for staying on the call and for like being like, I'm going to get everything I can out of this. And I just want you to know that Johnny and I are like this profession is the greatest profession on the planet. And every time you serve someone, you make a difference. Every time. It's like, I remember Michelle said once, we never know what seeds we're planting. And some seeds bloom right away and some seeds don't bloom for 5 years. But know that every time you serve someone, it makes a difference and you matter. Like your presence in the profession matters and your ability to serve in your unique way matters. So I just want to be a voice for use this time to create your 2024 in the most, in the fullest and richest way. And don't be afraid to get messy. Like get messy, roll your sleeves up. Like the only way to do it wrong is just to not get on the court. Is there anything you want to say, Johnny, to be complete?
I mean, I ditto everything that you just said, and I acknowledge everyone. Someone just wrote like coaching allows us to let our light shine, and the world needs it, and I 100% agree. And just all of you taking the mantle of being a source of light in the world and sharing that and spreading that and wanting to do it in a way that is connected to service and authenticity and heart. Like it's beautiful. And that's why, talking about community, I love being in a community of people who are being, out in the world like this, and that's their intention. And so I just acknowledge all of you for being on this path. And yeah, thank you. Thanks for being here with us as well.
Email Johnny or I, if you want the written piece from all the faculty. We can't wait for you to read it and to mark it up and be like, use that too. And just know that We think you're great, and more to come.
Take care, everybody.
Easy.
Bye. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Yes. For those celebrating, happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you so much.